I am Meredith Hirsh.
And I'm Mike Chavez.
And this is Working Healthcare. Today, we're diving headfirst into a raw, honest conversation about ambition, resilience, and the unspoken roadblocks still confronting women in healthcare leadership. Despite making up nearly 80% of the healthcare workforce, serving as nurses, clinicians, and administrators, women continue to be dramatically underrepresented at the top. Only 30% of hospital CEOs are women. That's not just a gap, it's a canyon. So, the question we're asking today is, what's really holding women back?
And here's the thing, it's not just a gender gap issue. Hospital leadership today means navigating relentless pressure, razor-thin margins, rising costs, workforce shortages, and sky-high demands for efficiency and innovation. Leading a hospital has never been more demanding or more essential.
In the Fortune 500, only 8% of CEOs are women. It's a sobering reminder that leadership inequality stretches far beyond healthcare. But again, why? I think often about something Sheryl Sandberg once said. Leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that impact lasts in your absence. That's the kind of leadership we need more of in healthcare. In our own practice, while I serve as CEO, our leadership team organically evolved into a powerhouse of women who show up, elevate others, and deliver results.
And one of those women doing just that is our guest, Heather Woolf. She's a bold, forward-thinking healthcare executive who started as a registered nurse and rose through the ranks to become vice president of operations at the Hospital for Special Surgery in Palm Beach County, Florida. Along the way, she's led hundreds of physicians, shaped strategy across major systems, and redefined what strong, impactful leadership looks like in modern healthcare.
Today, we'll unpack Heather's powerful journey, how she shattered ceilings, navigated complexity, and led with purpose through some of healthcare's most urgent challenges. We'll talk about the realities of hospital operations, the systemic shifts we need, and the bold future that women, like Heather, are already building to reshape healthcare's future.
This is a powerful, unfiltered conversation about leadership, grit, and creating a healthcare system that works for everyone. You won't want to miss this one, so let's get started.
Heather Woolf, welcome to Working Healthcare.
Thank you so much. And when I hear that intro, I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I'm getting so old. I've done all those things. But thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited for you to be here.
Thank you.
We have traveled in similar circles for a while, and we just met within the past year. And after my short little stint with you, I was like, I want you on Working Healthcare. And you're like, we'll do it. I had to harass you a little bit.
It's those calendars, it's putting the puzzle together. Like, when can you fit it in?
I
But
know.
I'm really excited to be here.
I'm really excited too. And I harassed you at the end and finally got something on the calendar because I realized when I was reviewing all of our podcast guests, they were all men. I had like 12 men in a row.
Oh,
and I don't say that because I don't love men. I have 3 sons. I have a husband. I have always loved men. But I don't think that women are involved enough in leadership and are speaking up enough. And I don't really know why.
Yeah.
And so I know you and I sort of are cut from the same cloth in that, and we're very strong women. And I was like, you know what? I'm bringing Heather on because I want to hear what Heather has to say. But before we get into that, I really want to talk about your journey because you started as a nurse and you worked your way into the administrative healthcare world.
Yes.
Describe that journey.
Yeah. Wow. If you told me 20 years ago that I would be doing this today, I'd say you were crazy. I started the journey truly out of a moment of desperation. I became a single mom and I had 2 very small kids at home. And I was a nurse and I was working nights so that I could balance watching the kids. And I thought, gosh, I've got to make some more money. I have to support my family. And I started working in home health. because they paid the nurses. I had enough experience that I could go into people's homes independently, right? And I loved it, by the way. There's nothing better than going in someone's home and like really taking care of them. But
see, that would scare me.
I had some moments. I have some stories. I'm going to write a book one day.
Yes. You write that book, and I'll write the book about teaching in inner city Miami.
Yeah.
We'll be good.
We'll line them up together.
Exactly.
Yeah, there were a couple homes I walked into, and I turned around and walked out and called, and I'm like, not going in. Yes. So it was a little scary, but I was young and naive, so you just go for it. And started working in some senior living communities, and they needed someone to teach the other nurses how to be personable. I didn't think it was nothing special. I trained in the Northeast, and nothing against the wonderful nursing programs down here, but years ago it's very formal, and communication with physicians is the most important thing you do in training. And that was somehow the magic ingredients that they recruited me to say, hey, could you go train the other nurses to like foster these relationships? And I just kind of fell into leadership and strategic planning, and got a call from a friend that I worked with on the marketing team in the home health company I was working in, and she said, hey, we need a chief strategy officer, a director of business development at this hospital, and I want you to come and meet the CEO. And I said, I am completely unqualified.
See, women say that.
Yes, I look back at that and I'm like, wait a minute, what made me unqualified?
Mike has never said that.
About myself?
About being unqualified. Didn't you always think you were qualified?
No. Well, no. I mean, I don't think I'm qualified now to do what I'm doing, to be honest. But I was going to say, you say that you're unqualified, but we just met a few minutes ago, and you have a leadership presence for sure.
Oh, thank you.
And there are a lot of books on leadership presence and maximizing that, but you definitely have that.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I feel overall that women, and Mike and I have talked about this offline, and we actually have even talked about it on another podcast, is that I still don't feel that men have what women have when it comes to imposter syndrome.
I agree. Even what, you started the conversation, Meredith, with I don't have enough, I realized I had no men on the podcast, because I don't think as women we always naturally think like, hey, I should be on a podcast. Like my husband, he owns his own real estate company, and he's like, I'm going to start podcasts. Like I have to get into this podcast thing. And I'm like, that sounds like, what are you talking about? So I think that sometimes we don't think about how do we promote education, what we do to other women. I just don't think it's like a natural thought process for many women. For me, speaking for myself.
I think it's more the mission behind it. Like with your podcast, it's more about sharing information as opposed to like, hey, people need to listen to me. You know, it's like,
I don't know. I sort of think people need to listen to me. But I've always said that. I was the one kid. My nephew is a Broadway theater kid. He is at NYU and he's studying musical theater. Wow. And my brother's like, how did I end up with a son like my sister? So yes, he likes to be on stage. So do I. So there you go. The podcast. See, I'm being my authentic, vulnerable self right now.
I like that.
So you interviewed for this position.
Yeah. And I got this job. And I'm like, whoa, wow. So it was on the job learning. And I was a kid, and I grew up at that company for 9 years, and really, really fortunate that I joined a team, a very experienced hospital CEO. The CFO was a woman.
Okay.
Who is one of my mentors to this day, very good friend. Her name's Cynthia McCauley. She's actually the CEO at St. Mary's Medical Center in West Palm Beach today. And she just, anything I didn't know, she would challenge me. Heather, go figure this out. Where's the answer? Who do you need to talk to? And she had been with the company for years, so she knew where to find all of that.
Had you ever had a female mentor before that?
No. That was really my first mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who really believed in me.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I look back on it, and most of my mentors were men, and they weren't women. And it wasn't until I went through grad school and had a very challenging experience the third time around at grad school. I did an executive MBA program, and there aren't a lot of men, or rather, there aren't a lot of women in MBA programs, specifically executive MBA programs. I applied to 2 programs. I applied to Kellogg, which was Northwestern's program, but it was in Miami, and it was their international executive MBA program. And then I applied to the University of Florida, and I said, well, if I'm going back to school, I'm really going back to school. And I interviewed with a female, actually, and I don't think I've ever really shared this story out loud. I've shared with Mike on a side, but not really out loud, but it kills me. This is 2010. 2009 maybe it was when I applied, but I started the program in 2010. And when I went into the initial, like just getting to know what the program was about, we had to go down to Coral Gables. My husband went with me because I wanted him to be a part of it. My youngest kid was 3 years old at the time, okay? So I definitely needed his support. So we went and I asked, how many students in the program? 50. What's the percentage of men versus women? They're like, we have 4 women in the program.
Wow.
I'm like, 4?
Wow.
4?
That's
8%.
amazing.
So I said, what do you attribute that to? And she said, well, about the age group that we're looking at, these women have started their careers and they're involved in their careers. They're married, they have kids, and they can't quite juggle the school as well. And I'm like, well, that's not me. So when I went for the interview, I legit was asked, so how are you going to manage 3 kids?
Wow.
You're running your company and school. And I thought, would you have asked a guy that?
Yeah, absolutely. No. Not surprised.
And I didn't have like the cojones to say anything about that at the time.
Sure.
And now I would have. I ended up graduating in 2016 because I did do the executive program up at the University of Florida, who like begged me to be a part of their program.
Yeah.
But I realized that the women were not very friendly, but the guys, I always had guys on my team.
Yes.
And I always thought I was like a guy's girl, like somebody who I had 2 brothers.
Yeah.
I felt comfortable with that.
Yes.
People were like, oh, you're a girl in a guy's body. And I'm like, or a guy in a girl's body rather. And I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And I love being a woman. And I realized during that experience, I was going to support women. I was going to go out of my way to build up other women.
Yes.
So what was your aha moment when you were like, I'm going to be mentored by a woman, or I'm going to be a mentor, because you're big into mentorship.
Yes, I am. It was actually the women on that team that I sort of had a moment, probably like year 3, and we were all settled in as like a team, and we were doing really well, the hospital, and we just gelled. And in a meeting, and one of the men in the meeting kind of said something off color to me in one of our meetings, and I just brushed it off and kind of. Now, I'm a nurse who's worked with doctors, right? And sort of grew up with doctors, and I have many brothers. I have many brothers. And
5 brothers?
Yeah. I don't get offended easily.
Do you have any sisters?
I have 2.
Oh, gosh. Big family.
Yeah, lots of us. I'm the youngest.
You have to clamor your way out.
Listen, that's where the grit comes from.
Yeah.
But after the meeting, all the women came together and said, don't you ever let him talk to you like that again. We are all going to talk to him. And they like ganged up on him.
Oh, I love that.
And I had a moment where I'm like, wow, this is like a thing, like girl power, and I need to look at things differently.
What year was this?
Probably 2011.
Oh, yeah.
2010, 11-ish.
Yeah. So
it was a while ago.
When I was being told, how do you juggle all 3 of these things?
Yeah.
You were actually getting support by women, which is awesome.
I really was fortunate to be on that team and meet those women. I mean, it really, really thankful for that.
And so how have you given back and mentored other women?
Yeah. I love to promote women, men too. I mean, if,
we all know we love men.
Yes. But I typically, I make sure I have a couple of really talented women on my team, no matter what. And I pour into them. I don't just go do your job. My door is open all the time. I will give you advice. You can choose to take it. Excuse me. And I'm here for you. And I have watched ladies that were on my team over the years. One of them is running the biggest physician division here on the East Coast of Florida now. Dear friend, amazing, amazing leader. And we still talk. I mean, her and I are on the phone mentoring each other all the time, learning from each other. And I just think you have to be intentional about how am I giving back.
I love that, because that's what I said when I texted you the fourth time, I think, and said, Heather, I want you on the podcast. And this is why, because I was not being intentional. I just was choosing who I thought would be a great guest.
Yeah.
And I said, but now I have 12 guys in a row.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this isn't working. I have to put women in between some of these. And I think on another side, we can talk about being intentional as well when we talk about race, right? You have to be intentional when you're saying, okay, I want the most qualified person. I want the most qualified person.
Yes.
But I also have to look at what does the Black community need?
Yes.
What does the Asian community need? What does the Hispanic community need?
Yes.
And being intentional about that.
And it takes, because they don't always get like the shot, right? They don't always make it through. In a larger corporate company, HR will screen the resumes, right? And I always say the best way to get a job is from your network. Work your network internal. But once in a while, you have a role open, and you're like, gosh, the people I know that I would like to bring here are committed elsewhere. They don't want to make a move, and folks don't even make it past like HR screening sometimes. So I like to be really, I personally review resumes, even down to my frontline staff today. I'm in a small enough organization, I can do that again. But I want to make sure I'm intentional, where did they grow up? What, I don't care if maybe they're 2 years out, maybe, let's give them a shot. And I like a lot of different resumes, a lot of different backgrounds. And so, cause you never know. And you have to be thoughtful about that when you hire.
And you don't want to be so homogeneous that people are all one and the same, right?
Yes.
You want to have that diversity, and you want your patients specifically to also be able to relate.
Absolutely. And I want to be at a table with people who are going to disagree with me. Yep. And if everybody's like nodding at me and we're all from the same background, I could put a bunch of nurse leaders at the table or women at the table.
It's just an echo chamber at that point.
Yeah. I really
this is so
that.
interesting to me because coming up as a leader and just dealing with all those challenges alone, it's interesting to hear that there's a whole host of other challenges and a whole spectrum of other challenges just being a woman and dealing with all those, and how you're looked at by the majority of the other executives being men. So it's so interesting to hear because there's a whole host of other challenges that you have to deal with in addition to trying to climb the corporate ladder or whatever it is that you're trying to climb. So it's impressive.
We are different, though. I mean, we do feel things differently. I would never cry in front of anybody, a guy or a girl. It's just not what I'm doing. I will not use excuses, but that's who I am. I will explain, but I'm not going to use an excuse. And I'm not really good at vulnerability anyway, so I'm not just like sharing everything. But I also, I teach this when I finished my graduate program finally in 2016. I started mentoring from a program called Women of Tomorrow. And I worked at a local high school, and I worked with girls, young ladies who were 14 to 18 in high school and teaching them different skill sets. And it was difficult, I sigh, because I'm older. I don't think any of them were white. Probably nobody was Jewish. I'm used to having worked in the inner city in Miami anyway. And I had to work around the idea of I'm not just some white girl coming in to try to teach you what to do. We all have a lot of similarities. So it doesn't matter if you're a guy, or it doesn't matter if you're Black, or it doesn't matter if you're from Ecuador. We all have a lot of similarities that we have, and we can find that commonality. this is my experience. This is what I can share with you. So when you're showing up at a job interview, this is what professionalism looks like.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
This is how you need to create your resume. This is what the front. You can have two different personas. You can have your work persona and then go hang out and do what you need to do with your friends. Yeah. But you need to present yourself in that way. Yes. And I do, to go back to what Mike said, I do believe it's a little tougher for us because people always say, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. And we are a little different.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, you have to be, I'm sure that you always have to be mindful of it, but you can't necessarily like overcompensate for it either. So there's probably like a fine line that you have to walk, being mindful of it and not overcompensating for it and impressing yourself upon someone because you're a female, or even jump to a conclusion that they're not giving you an opportunity because you're female.
Do you wear high heels when you go to conferences?
No. Well, my feet are old now, so
you're 2 years younger than me. Your feet can't be old.
I'm getting more and more about comfortable shoes, but
because you're owning it.
Yeah, but you know what? That's an interesting conversation because as a woman, you really have to be thoughtful about what you put on in the corporate world, right? So I have to think through I bet anyone would tell you I've never seen Heather in like a low cut shirt you know what I mean? And I think that's a challenge women have because we can be sexualized and in an industry where it's primarily male or, and the physician industry is interesting too, right? And I love physicians, especially as a nurse, and I get them, but it's like the good old boys club sometimes.
Yes, it is. And you deal with surgeons.
Yes.
Massive good old boys. Orthopedic surgeons are the biggest good old boys.
Yeah. And I love them because they're such straight shooters. All surgeons really, no matter what the specialty, but, it's you gotta make sure that you help them work through working with their female staff as well if there's issues or whatnot. So it's hard to be a woman sometimes,
and making sure you're appropriate and you're an attractive woman. And listen, my brother is a dermatologist, and he's like, it's just a matter of fact. It's not an opinion. Someone's either attractive or they're not. So you are attractive, and I think one, it benefits you as a female to be attractive, but two, I agree, you have to make sure that you don't come across in a sexualized way, because you are also a very smart woman, and you are also very driven, and you're very capable. And so making sure that you present yourself in that fashion.
That's how I want them to see me, right? I don't want them to see me as anything other than I'm your partner here in business. And I don't want them to see like the blonde hair coming. Do you know what I mean? And you earn trust, and then I don't think they would see it anymore anyway once they get to know you and you're a professional. But yeah, we're thoughtful about that, and I talk about that with other female executives and friends. You put a lot of thought into all of that.
We do. See, Mike, what we have to do.
Yeah, I already have it. We're only 20 minutes in, and I already have a newfound respect for women. I mean, having to be conscious of even what you're wearing, because we just wear whatever we want to wear that day. We don't have to think about like, is this too much? Is this not, it's, I already have a newfound respect for women in the workplace. And I was raised by a single mom. So,
cool.
So, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I have a good friend. She's a Black woman in healthcare management, and she has it way worse than I do, and we talk about it, and she's like, listen, you might be Jewish, but nobody knows that when you walk into a room. She's like, I'm a Black woman in healthcare administration, and I feel like I have to work just so much harder. And I agree with her, she does, because you have these preconceived ideas about people. And eventually I'll get her on the podcast too. I've been talking to her. I'm not going to share her name out loud now. I've harassed her enough, but yes, I am going to get her on. She's brilliant.
Yeah, I bet she has a lot of good things to share.
She has really great things to share. So let me ask you, You're in the hospital system. I've never worked in the hospital system except like working at the gift shop when I was 15 years old. But you work in the hospital system. Yeah. I read off a crazy statistic and I was like, where did I get that statistic? I got them from very reputable sources. But we look at 80% of healthcare are women. And only 30% are the ones in the C-suite. What do you think the disparity is caused by?
Gosh, boy, that's a good question. For number one, I do think it's confidence, natural confidence in leadership. I think women in general we think I'm here to support you, or we're caregivers, many of us by nature, especially in healthcare. Think about why women get into healthcare. Right? We're nurses. We are CNAs at the bedside. You know, we're like, hey, I'm instead of working in retail, let me go work with sick people and check them in at the doctor's office. So I think innately the women who get into healthcare are already caregivers and maybe not natural like thinkers about the business side of healthcare, you know? I don't know that everybody knows that could be a path for you, whereas maybe the men entering healthcare have more of a business side or understand it, or, you know, even if I think about, you know, all the MBAs in healthcare, they don't have a clinical background, and thankful for them. We need them, right? Wow. Thank God for CFOs. That's all I'm going to say.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I mean, right? So I don't know. Maybe it's they don't see themselves as leaders or future leaders or dream about it.
That's why I wanted to ask you about your journey at the very beginning, because you are an RN, and I agree with you. I don't think people necessarily see their way starting at the beginning in specific clinical positions going into administrative roles. I wasn't a clinical person at all. So for me, it was much more organic. But for others who are, oh, well, maybe I can't do it, maybe I can do it. But I don't think it's necessarily us, I'm saying women, men, whomever, encouraging. I think it's that inner drive or inner confidence.
I just fell into it. I fell into it out of a need. And I woke up one day and I'm like, wait a minute, I really like this. Like, leading is such a beautiful, like, profession. I think of it as like leadership, right? And I'd wake up and say, how did I get here? Like, what am I doing? But wait a minute, this is really fun and impactful. And even though I'm not at the bedside touching patients anymore, I'm supporting all of those people down to the front lines to continue to care for people. Because there's that weird thing too, where you're like, wait a minute, I'm a nurse. I'm not a business person. Like, I'm supposed to be like holding patients' hands, you know, and like, right? Because this is like, why.
But you went back to school to get your MHA.
Yeah.
So when did you decide to make that journey?
Oh boy. Well, when my kids got old enough. So I did all of the things I did just with my little RN degree, which is like another talk about imposter syndrome. And they would call me and say, all right, Heather, listen, we're looking, would you apply for the COO job, right? And I'd say, oh, I don't have my MBA or anything yet. And they'd say, no, you've proven you don't have the paper, but we believe in you. So I did all that without it.
But how did you learn it? How did you learn about a profit and loss statement, or how did you learn about, cost benefit analysis?
My mentors.
Okay.
I literally would walk into Cynthia's office and say, all right, can you show me how we did the close this month? Or can you talk me through the month-end statement, the year-end statement? And I'm like a sponge. And I love that stuff. And it just came naturally to me once I started learning. But I was pretty bold, right? Like, not a lot of people would walk into the CFO's office and be like, hey, I have no idea what you just talked about in that meeting. Like, how many people would do that, right?
Yeah, but Mike even said, because I've known you, but Mike just met you shortly before we started this interview, and he already said you have leadership quality.
I think I've learned them, though, Mike. I don't, this is like, 15 years of trying to sit up straight, right? I think that's part of what I've absorbed.
You're still
as a sponge.
tapping into that need to have an impact on people's lives, though, right? Because in leadership, it's one of the most rewarding things about leadership is having the opportunity to have an impact on somebody's life, just like your mentor had on you.
Yeah, that's what it's all about to me. I, in the beginning, it started because I had to pay bills. But, I've had opportunities I've turned down, and I, could have made more money. At this point, I think it's about, what can I give back? Yeah, I have to pay my bills, and I like my lifestyle and things like that. But where can I make a difference? If I'm sitting around and everything's running smoothly and I'm bored, so I know that about myself. I'm a fixer. So where can I help people? Where can I fix things? And I think that's what leadership is about to me. I think there's a lot of great leaders that like things and do great when it's running smoothly. But
for somebody listening to this podcast and saying, oh, well, she's an RN, I'm an RN. Yeah. I totally love leadership. I want to go down that path. Why did Heather get an MHA? Why did she feel she needed to get it? Did it even help her?
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you that because that's what I would think.
Yeah. I really got it because I want to teach another way to give back, right? So when I'm 70 years old and I've retired from corporate.
You're going to wait until you're 70 to teach?
I just can't. Well, I'm teaching a little bit now.
I know you are in the FAU program.
I am.
In exec ed. I was talking to Niraj about it. He's going to be on the podcast.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. He's in India right now. So I said, when you get back, we'll do the podcast.
Oh, he's so great. So eventually when I slow down, that's what I want to be doing. Just to continue to give back. I could never, ever fully retire and sit still. I can't imagine it. I would go crazy. But that's really why I did it. I felt like, and I learned, oh my gosh, I met wonderful people. The networking alone, it was really fun.
But that was back in the day where you were in class.
Yes.
How do you think they network now if they're taking these MHA and MBA programs online?
Yeah. I encourage every student, if they're thinking about it, to do it in person.
Yes.
It's a whole different experience. You meet people that are your lifelong, network, really. I mean, I encourage definitely in-person learning.
And that's what I have struggled with now because I'm teaching remotely.
Yeah.
And the students, I don't know if it's because it's the university who wants to make more money because now you can have students who are not local who can take the program. But I struggle as a instructor and I think my students do. And I just got feedback from the last semester class that I taught. And a couple of people said they love the breakout sessions. They would like more instructors to use the Zoom breakout sessions.
Oh, that's great.
Because they could really get to know each other.
That's great.
And I thought that's super, but maybe this just proves the point.
Yeah.
Can we be in person?
Yeah. I love that. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
They're online, and I find that the online students are sometimes more introverts.
Yes.
They really don't want to come, and they prefer to be online. Isn't that interesting that they still like the breakout sessions the most?
Only 2 students said that, but I'm going with it.
But
I'm glad they
with
like
you. I think you should sell that all day long.
I will sell that all day long, and I have told Niraj that. I'm like, in person, I will be doing it in person.
Yeah.
So you when did you finish your MHA?
2023.
Oh, God. So you went through it during COVID, and you were still live.
Right after COVID, and I did the 18-month. So I was in person after COVID.
Okay.
I went straight through and did it.
It's interesting that you say you wanted to teach, and that was one of the reasons why you did it. I agree with you. Everybody in my family has a master's or doctorate, and I was the only one who didn't, and I sort of felt like a loser. I felt like I had imposter syndrome through that. And I really struggled with not having the education. I got married very young. Yeah. And when I say very young, I got married at 21.
Wow.
Which is very young.
That is.
And I got married right after college. At May 4th was when I graduated. My husband graduated med school, I think, May 25th, and we got married June 8th.
Wow.
That's a long, and I'm still the same husband. So it's a really long time.
It's amazing.
It is. It's one of the hardest things in the world, but most rewarding for sure.
He's a good one.
He's a good one.
Sure
He
is.
is.
He sure
Especially
is.
when people think we're newlyweds, which is so funny.
I love
and
that.
I'm like,
Yeah.
really? I feel like we know each other better than that. But I really wanted to get my master's degree because I wanted that for my own self. And also it allowed me the ability to teach, like you said.
Yeah.
The first opportunity I was offered after my MBA was to speak for the Florida Society of Rheumatology.
Fantastic.
And I said, why are you asking me now? Like, what do I know now that I didn't know 3 months ago? And I was told, well, now you have your MBA.
Yeah.
So now people will listen to you a little bit more. It's the ethos, right? You have to have the proof on it.
Yeah, and I get that, but I also we were talking about looking at candidates. I don't let that hold me back from interviewing a candidate either if they have the years of experience. It's very important, especially today, the younger generation coming. I just think it's an expectation. But look at all the successful people out there that haven't checked that box.
My youngest doesn't. We had this discussion yesterday. My youngest, super brilliant, smart. I mean, he's a math major, applied math major at Duke, and got a 4.0.
Amazing.
He set the curve for linear algebra. He got like 110%. Okay,
Holy moly!
I know. I don't.
Holy
understand
moly!
it. I know. And he doesn't think he's going to grad school. He's like, I don't think I am. I don't know. I'm not thinking about that now. These are my options, and I don't know, because he wants to bring his car up to school, and I said, are you going to grad school? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, how much money am I going to continue to like put toward
it's going that
what
way.
you're doing?
The traditional path isn't so traditional anymore.
Yeah.
He just doesn't think he's like, I don't think I need it. And he goes, maybe. He goes, I might take my GMAT and think about MBA school, or maybe get a PhD. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know. I don't know where he came from. The mailman? No, I'm just teasing. We were joking about that earlier. So what interesting perspective or unique perspective do you think women bring into healthcare administration? Do you think it's any different?
Gosh, sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. And what I mean by that is I think some women are more patient.
Not me.
Maybe not. Yeah, not everybody. But I think, like, I find some of the women, like leaders that have been on my team, they're like, oh, well, she just, had the baby, which is wonderful, right? And, she's going to take 3 months off. And then other women leaders that I've met with are like, I had a baby and I was back to work in 4 weeks.
Right.
So I think sometimes, I don't know if there's a completely unique perspective. I really think it's based on your personality.
Yeah, definitely based on your personality. I mean, I don't know. You work with a lot of women, Mike. What do you think?
I'm a big believer in promoting women, and probably because I was raised by my mom, and she was my first mentor, really. Yeah. She, worked a couple of jobs trying to raise my brother and I, so I watched her work very hard, and I consider her my first mentor. So I've always been a believer in I guess I didn't necessarily know why, and now thinking about it, that's probably why. But I think you're right. I think I don't know that it's a difference in gender. I think it's personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
I think, at least for me, personality-wise, I want to share, because you're probably nicer than I am. You were a nurse, and I studied like journalism and advertising. That's like the mean area to study, because I always struggle with people just thinking I'm too blunt, direct. Mm-hmm. I've been called a bitch on multiple occasions. That I'm a hard ass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm really not. I tell people I'm a crab. My birthday is July 21st, and so I'm a Cancer. And I am a crab. I'm really tough on the outside, but I'm really sensitive on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if a male's like that, they're not necessarily going to get those comments, probably.
Right.
So, that's right.
Yeah.
I used to have a leader work with me, a leadership team member, and she was my biggest advocate and cheerleader and protector. And people would say these things behind my back, and she would say, if Meredith was a guy, would you be saying the same thing?
Yeah.
And I had never thought of it that way, and you brought it up, Mike. I never thought of it that way, and they would say, oh, I guess not. And they're like, just pretend she's a guy. I'm like, I don't know if I want that either. But do you feel that in leadership roles as a woman?
So, yeah, and I mentor young women in leadership on this subject. I was raised by my grandmother, and my grandmother would always say, you catch more bees with honey. And that's sort of been my leadership philosophy. And I don't mean to simplify it like that, but I will absolutely have to have a difficult conversation, pull out the stick. I have a personal commitment to myself that I do that in private. I avoid emotional outbursts. I would never, I have a pretty good poker face, because I think that's an excuse for people to say, she's such a bitch, and I think there's different ways to do things.
Yeah, I need to learn that a little bit more.
Yeah, but I don't know.
When you come from that place, though, I've found that I lead the same way. I get very close with the people that I'm leading. I want to know about not necessarily about their personal life, but I want to know what they're dealing with and what they're going through and where they came from. Mm-hmm. And I've found that when it comes to those difficult decisions, it's a lot easier to have those, and you have more leeway because they know you're coming from a caring place. Yeah. They know you're not just coming down on them. They know that you're telling them this because you care and you want them to do better. And so I feel like they take it better. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we just have to be thoughtful about that as women, because the reaction to us is so much different when we come across a certain way.
Well, I care about people wholeheartedly. I really do. I'm very empathetic, and I like to learn about people, but I'm impatient.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably my biggest challenge, because you're very patient, Mike.
Very patient.
Are you patient?
I'm very patient.
Yeah, you're a nurse. You have to be patient.
I'm very, very patient.
I'm very impatient. And I think that's actually where it stems from.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, don't you get it? Like, we got to move on. This, that. I get it. I care. I understand what you're doing, but let's move on. So it's something I'm trying to work on. I feel like when you stop working on yourself, you might as well be dead, because you always can work on yourself.
Yes.
So going sort of into that perspective and working on yourself, I'd really like for you to share an example of a time when your perspective as a leader, specifically as a female leader, shaped a strategic decision or initiative.
That's a great question.
Thanks.
It is. I think I do sort of always champion women's health a little bit behind the scenes. Today I'm in the world of like orthopedics and MSK. So not so much in the world I'm in today, because I think it's for everybody. But when I was in sort of a multi-service line hospital organization setting, I had a soft spot. I mean, I really had a soft spot for our publicly funded maternal fetal programs. I mean, these are women that have to take a bus to 3 bus stops to try to get a prenatal checkup. Like, I'll fight for that. My team that writes the grants for that, how are they getting here? COVID hit, and I was in a public healthcare system. It was a big concern of mine. Like, there is nothing worse than a mom that hasn't had a prenatal checkup, who comes from an underserved community, hypertensive. How are we getting to these people? I do think behind the scenes, maybe because I'm a woman, I sort of champion those things.
And I also think because you're a mom and you've been through that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. Personal connection, right?
I love to hire moms because I feel
moms. I love hiring moms.
I do too, because why do you love hiring moms?
Because they are just in it for the right reason, right? I'm going to take care of my family. Think of a woman at home who has kids sitting at home. They're sacrificing picking them up. They're here. They are in it for the right reasons, especially in leadership, 99% of the time. I love moms.
Yes, and I agree with you on that, and they know how to get it done.
Yes.
No offense. Sorry, Mike. No.
It's fine.
But yes, and because they know that they're juggling so many different components.
So they're resourceful.
Yeah.
Right.
Very scrappy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I love the word
when
resourceful.
When you lead people, right? Like, kind of like parenting sometimes.
Oh, yes.
I
say that.
It is.
Like, you have to show up on time as like, can you please take the dishes out of your room? I mean, it's kind of like these repetitive messages that I just think moms are so great at.
So how do you balance that? How do you balance your work life integration. I'm going with work-life integration. I do not like the word work-life balance. Someone taught me integration. I don't even know who, but I'm going with it. But, you know, you're married, you have kids, you have a very high-level leadership position at a major hospital down here. You teach, you're involved, you're podcasting with us. So how do you integrate it all? Do you have a hobby?
I wish I had time. I love to read. I love to read, and it calms me down. But I'm not like, you know, I'm not like a runners amaze me, like these people that are running there. I'm not. I don't have a lot of spare time, especially when the kids. I'm an empty nester now, so this has like changed my life, right? But I tell women who ask me this question that are getting into leadership, you cannot be everything to everybody every day, all the time, and if you struggle with perfectionism, that I know a lot of leaders do, that becomes like a real challenge. So you have to give yourself grace. And number one. Number two, you have to set boundaries. You have to. You have to say, all right, this is my 2 hours. I'm at dinner with my husband and my kids. Things are not on fire, so I'm going to put my phone down and I will check it in 2 hours. Or when you're at work, right? My husband could call me 8 hours ago. I have no idea, you know, but that's another important thing, is to have the right partner in life, right? But you have to give yourself grace, have to set some boundaries, and when you do fail in certain areas, you just have to move beyond it. I think we can get obsessed with it, like, oh my gosh, I missed the concert last night. My daughter's so upset with me. Like, you have to say, but you know what? I'll be there for her this weekend. I'm paying for her private school. She knows I love her. I'll make it up to her. So, I think what's really important is to be present for what you're doing in that moment. Whatever you're doing, be present in that moment, do the best job you can, and then move on to the next thing and give that your attention, whether it's the project at work or the game you're sitting at with your kid. It's a challenge.
It is a challenge. And what advice would you give somebody listening to this podcast who is a nurse, a medical assistant, some woman, or even man in this world and wants to rise into a leadership role? What would you say?
I would say raise your hand.
I love that.
I would say raise your hand, and I a lot of the young students, I love it when they say yes. Say yes without asking for anything in return. Hey, do you want to be on the quality committee? We're looking for some frontline people. Yep, sure do. Do you want to come and volunteer at the walk this weekend? We're getting a group. I sure do. I think saying yes is your number one way to start to even know if you want to lead. Because if you say yes and then you're like, oh, now I'm doing that thing, they're not paying me $1 extra, you're probably not leadership material, right? For the long term. I think that'll help you learn if
I love that.
If that's,
and the worst thing that can happen is that you'll learn something.
Yeah.
Maybe even learning that you didn't want to do that, but you're learning something.
I love that. Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
Do you think this millennial generation is willing to say yes without getting paid the dollar?
I think some of them are. I think some of them aren't. But we half and half. Half and half.
Do you think fewer than our generation?
Yes.
Okay.
I
What about
do.
the baby boomers?
Oh my goodness. You're making me think of my daughter. Oh, the baby boomers. Oh, I love baby boomers.
Yeah.
Yes. I love them. I love learning from them, being alongside of them.
Don't you feel like they say yes a lot?
They say yes all the time. They're proud, right? The pride in what they do, right? Oh my gosh, what a wonderful generation. I learned so much from them. You know, some of my mentors are retired now, and thank goodness they showed me how to work hard and how to get it done.
What do you think these young ones are, these Zoomers, our kids' ages?
Oh gosh, now you're making, well, my son got his first adult job and he seems to be showing up on time and doing all the things.
Is he saying yes?
I think he's saying maybe, I think he's saying maybe. That he called me this weekend because they asked him to take on some extra duties in his new job. He's like, Mom, what do you think? I mean, I'm like, you say yes. What do I always say? You say yes. He's like, I'll think about it. So I don't know. But you know what I do love about the younger generation is they are thinking about work-life balance.
Work-life integration, Heather.
Integration.
Work-life
I have to pick that
integration.
up. And I respect them for that. I think that's pretty cool.
I think there's a shift with I think there's going to be a shift with the younger generation because your level of toughness depends a lot of times on your level of adversity that you've dealt with. And if you think about the adversity that's happening right now all over, they're dealing with a lot, especially the younger
That's a great
kids.
point.
They're dealing with a lot. And having to see all these crazy things going on firsthand on their phones or, on the TV. So I think that there's going to be a shift and they're going to come tougher.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Well, I just had Allie Kaufman on the podcast, and we talked a lot about that because she's in the educational world, but we also talked about the mental health concerns for this younger generation because they did grow up so scarred, so battled, or battered from the fact that they are battle scarred.
Yes.
And so it's being aware of that and us showing them grace and trying to work through the challenges that they're facing that we may not have faced. We can't say, pull your bootstraps up and get moving.
Yeah.
It's a little different as to how we have to interact with them.
Yeah. And we need to be accountable to learn how to do that as leaders.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. So I wanted to ask you about the healthcare systems. So are there better measures to reward leadership qualities in the healthcare world as opposed to the traditional metrics that we used?
Boy, isn't that an interesting thought? I don't know. I mean, I think what we're driven by with the metrics ultimately drives our goals in delivering great care and growing service lines and providing new services, technology, innovation.
But is that because you're looking at the final reward?
That's a great question.
I don't know, because you deal in a different world than I do, being in the hospital. And the only company I've ever run, the only leadership role outside of being an educator that I've ever really been a part of is the Hirsh Center.
Yeah.
We started this practice right after I turned 33 years old, like literally right after I turned 33.
Crazy.
So this is all I've done for the majority of my career and at least my leadership skills and my leadership role. But a hospital's got to be far different.
I mean, I think that our goals would be pretty well aligned in a lot of ways, right? We want, you want physicians in the group that are high quality and support all, the mission, vision, values of the Hirsh Center, right? Every hospital company that I've been a part of, same thing, right? We want to hire the highest quality physicians and provide the best services, provide access to the community. And we need to run a business, right? I remember the first time I figured out that healthcare was a business.
I say that the first day of class.
Oh my goodness. I was a nurse and I was a nursing student. And I just wanted to take care of people, right? This is 100 years ago. And I remember I was rounding on the floor to local community hospitals, part of our clinical rotations. And the nursing instructor, I grabbed an oxygen tube. I'll never forget it. Grabbed it. And the nursing instructor said, hey, grab this sticker, Heather, and put it on your clipboard. That's how long it was. Put it on your clipboard, Heather. And I'm like, why? And he said, oh, well, we need all your stickers at the end of the day because we have to bill for everything that you used with your patients. And I'm like, what? I mean, but that's the reality, is that it is a business.
So we work with private practices. What are the biggest struggles for hospitals right now?
Yeah. Staffing for sure. Even on the ambulatory side, which is primarily where I've worked with hospital companies. Staffing,
it's the same as us.
Staffing is out, finding good people and being able to pay them what you need to pay them to work for you.
Even though you're getting paid differently as a hospital.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And yes, right.
Because I look at the reimbursement for you versus what we get reimbursed.
Yeah.
And I'm a little jealous, and I'm not a jealous person.
Yeah.
You probably have to stay abreast, though, of what private practices are paying, though, right? Because we have to stay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in what all the private practices are paying their staff.
So you can
Because
pay
you
them
wanna
more
be
and
in
take them,
line.
right?
Yeah, I think we probably paid less than a lot of private practices when physicians from the community, and this is over maybe, the last 12 years in a couple different organizations, the doctors would want to join us and say, but I pay Sally $30 an hour. And I'd say, oh boy, I can only pay her $22 an hour. And that actually, that's been a real challenge for us.
Interesting.
Yeah, because when you run a private practice and you have a really valuable employee, you can pay them more.
Yeah,
but when you're
it's
in
more
a large,
fluid.
you're a corporate entity, it's all, they do market adjustments and it's all about equity, which also is a good thing too. So the staff doesn't fight because they're based on years of service.
How does it compare? Because a hospital for special surgery is out of New York.
Yeah.
And so I'm certain the compensation has to be higher in New York. Maybe I'm wrong.
We're a different region though. So even when I worked for like a Tenet Healthcare where we had 100 hospitals, everything's very regionally based.
So it's like locale, right?
Yeah.
The reimbursement is based on locale. So you can at least use an explanation as to why you're paying more, you're paying less.
Absolutely. Right, we don't have state income tax here. When you recruit physicians, that's a big, I'm sure you do that, right, Meredith, as well. You get to have that conversation when you're bringing in.
I try, but to have a conversation like that with somebody who's in the medical field and not in administration and has never taken a business class in their life, I don't think they always get it.
Yeah. But we're having the same conversations, right? No matter private practice setting
You're right.
or hospital,
True.
right?
Well, what lessons did you learn at your time at Tenet, which is huge, and then
Yeah.
Broward Health?
Yeah.
You were in the corporate world at Broward Health as
Yes.
well. What did you learn about the leadership skills that you could take now in the hospital world that you're at in Palm Beach County?
Yeah, I think I picked up a little bit from everywhere. And what's really neat is spending years in the for-profit healthcare sector and what mattered there. It's not much different than what mattered in the public health sector, except what I did like about public health is that you did get all those cool funded programs for the underserved. That was pretty cool. But in terms of leadership, healthcare is really challenging no matter where you work in it. And I think that all those skills are transferable, whether you came over to the hospital-owned practice side or wanted to start a tech company in healthcare. We all speak the same language.
I feel like we do too, and I've always said that. I think I could be the CEO of a hospital.
Yeah.
I have to learn something. I think I could run any company. You still have to learn your product, right?
Yes.
It's your product, but you're right. The skills are transferable.
Yeah. And we worry about the same things. We have to negotiate with the managed care plans. Ooh, that's so much fun, right?
I know. Have you negotiated with Blue Cross yet?
We are in process.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. And
I've been paying out of pocket. Just needed to know that question for myself.
Yeah. And it's Blue Cross here, United in another life, Aetna in another life. We this is the game we play, and we all play it.
So my topic at an upcoming conference, I'm the moderator, very excited about this, is what is the future of MA plans? So Heather, what is the future of MA plans?
Well, when you figure that out, you can let me know.
Okay.
You can let me know. That is complicated stuff. Well, and government funding, right? And what does that look like? And we have a new administration and very interested to see what happens. And I know you're very involved with the state and you can teach me about that when you figure it out.
I don't know. I haven't figured it out, but all I know is the CEOs are getting terminated and they are getting sued. And I love that Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders up in Arkansas actually is creating PBM reform because our U.S. Congress can't do it. So she's like, well, I'm going to figure it out in Arkansas and no longer allow PBMs to own pharmacies or vice versa. So excited to see that. So I hope there's a trickle-down effect when it comes to that. So I'm really hopeful that there will be a change with MA plans. They're 55% right now of our Medicare age population, and they're growing. But now I'm going to ask you my final question because I feel like this is a great segue into it so I can better understand what you see in our future. So if you could create one change within our American healthcare system,
boy.
Heather Woolf, what would it be?
I think the nurse in me, it's all about the access. And I do have a soft spot in my heart for those people that can't afford health care. And I'm a pretty conservative person, but I really, really worry about those in the community that just are not getting the care that they need. And if there was a way to do that and reduce cost associated with it, because that's, a challenge we all live with every day, that would be a change that I would make.
I usually end it here, but I want to segue to one more thing. When you stated that we need to be able to provide care, Jackson Memorial Hospital down in Miami is the only true county hospital that I'm aware of in the state of Florida. And they actually are funded by sales tax in Miami-Dade County. And I don't know if it's 0.5% or 1%.
Yeah, the millage rate.
Right.
Broward Health is the same.
Okay.
Yes.
And so what about implementing something like this for the counties so that there is a true public health option for those who don't have insurance?
Yeah. And I mean, that's what sort of the states up north do so well, right? You have that state income tax and that funds these programs for the underserved. I think that the taxpayers, that would be a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
But there are counties that have made that decision and have wonderful healthcare systems, safety net hospitals, right? So that's a great point.
I think if people realize that it would help get others off the streets, it would take care of children who so desperately need care and don't have it. 70% of children in Florida have some type of subsidized health care. That is a staggering statistic. And so being able to ensure that our older population, the baby boomers we love so much, those who are children and don't have a voice and can't vote, you know what? You may see the bigger good out of it than just saying they're taking from my pocketbook.
Yeah, yeah. Boy, wouldn't that be an interesting change?
Heather Woolf, thank you for sharing your journey and inspiring others to make bold decisions.
Thank you both.
Because you are an amazing healthcare leader, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Same to you and you.
Thank you.
Thank you both for having me on. This was so much fun.
To everyone listening, the full video of this episode with Heather is now available on YouTube. Just search Working Healthcare and hit subscribe so you don't miss future interviews, short clips, and behind-the-scenes moments. And if you've got a question, an episode idea, or someone you think we should feature, drop us a line at meredithhirsh.com.
And if this conversation hit home for you or made you think a little differently, don't keep it to yourself. Share the episode, tag a friend, or post it on social media. You can follow us at Working Healthcare on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. That's where we keep the conversation going between episodes. The more voices we bring into this space, the more momentum we build. Because change doesn't start with a policy, it starts with a conversation. A real one like this.
New episodes drop every Tuesday, and trust us, you won't want to miss what's coming next. I'm Meredith Hirsh.
And I'm Mike Chavez.
Tune in weekly as we explore the inner workings of healthcare.